pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to everybody here and watching. Let's just get started. We have no high school student reports this evening. Are there any board committee reports going around the room here? Yes, Judah.
Yeah, Facilities Committee met earlier this evening, and we had an update on some projects that have completed, including the high school roof replacement project that actually was a little bit under budget, but we knew it was going to be under budget. So we are received bids for the middle school gym roof project that will be starting up. And we talked about a little bit about the infrastructure, the bond work, and phase one has been submitted to state ed, to SED. And based on the schedule, we anticipate that the high school field will be out of service through spring of '23. And in order to accommodate the requirement for building aid, we were also doing some exterior door work at the same time. That's part of phase one, and we've started the design of phase two. The design phase of phase two, if you will, with architects doing some touring and meeting with principals, talking about security vestibules. There's some ideas about some minor changes to those that'll come out. Massey and Aris will be doing a presentation at the June 7th Board of Ed meeting, so we'll get a full details of where we're at then. And then just a couple of other notes that are interesting. The state ed for phase two will be submitted to SED at the end of July, or that's the plan right now. And we're talking about some ways to help engage the community, and make sure that everybody's seeing this process, since it is, the schedule goes obviously out to 2027, so we want to make sure everybody's getting their chance to see what's going on and how things are doing. So we'll be coming back with more updates on that over the coming weeks.
Okay, good. Any comments on that report? Because I actually have one comment, and my comment would be that I think that at the Facilities Committee, what we should do is we should take a look at, and I know they're probably doing this already, but trying to compress our timeline closer to now. In other words, we have a 5-year time frame. Let's try to get it done as much as we can, even if we've got to spend a little more money on design up front, because inflation's going to, kill us towards the end of the job, and we're going to be scrambling. I'm really concerned about that, and I'd rather spend a little more time up front, because if you could move some stuff closer, and I don't know if it's doable, I'm just throwing out the idea, if we could move that timeline closer, we could possibly avoid some inflationary pressures at the end of the job. So, just a thought. And when they're here, remind me to ask them that question, because I will forget.
I will try and remember.
Okay. Anybody else? Another report? Anybody? Yes, Chrissy.
I'll do the Waverly Committee report. Waverly has a Parents' Night Out this Friday, April 22nd at Chow's at 7:30. There will be a DJ, food, raffles, and you can get tickets on the membership site. Waverly also has a family fitness event on April 29th. They'll have a DJ, healthy food trucks, and a fitness instructor to do exercises and relays for parents and kids. Tickets are also available on membership. Kindergarten has a field trip coming up at the Children's Museum in Rye. First graders have their trip to the Hudson River Museum. And I think today they had a STEM assembly presentation by Vinnie Voltage. Fun Run will be on May 20th, and they're going to be raising funds for the new STEM program at Waverly. First grade Moving Up picnic is on June 16th. And And Dr. Bott was happy to report that students are now gathering in the gym every morning for morning meeting and to recite the Pledge of Allegiance together as a whole school community. And she also said that the children are thrilled to all be in the cafeteria eating together again. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports? Yes, Cheryl.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the middle school. PTA has a lot going on. So they're having, for rising high schoolers, so current 8th graders, is 9th grade orientation is tomorrow, April 20th at 6:45 in the high school auditorium. The Eastchester Middle School PTA is putting on a fundraiser, a clothing drive this Saturday, April 23rd, in the front parking lot of Eastchester Middle School from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So do your spring cleaning. They're accepting all kinds of clothing. 8th grade is also having a parents' night out, so this is just for 8th grade parents. It's Tuesday, April 26th at Serafina's. I believe it's sold out, and this is a fundraiser for 8th grade, special 8th grade events around their moving up ceremony. The 8th grade band is, for the first time, doing a trip to Six Flags on May 7th, and there's another 8th grade trip coming up in June also to Six Flags. So it's the run-up to graduation and moving up ceremonies and all the things that are happening in June. Eastchester Septa has a number of milestones this year that I wanted to talk about. So Backyard Sports Club is launching for the 10th year, and you might have seen calls for student volunteers. There are over 36 Gen Ed students volunteering to coach 13 special needs students. Eastchester Septa participated in the Polar Plunge with Special Olympics, and that partnership has continued on into the Special Olympics Unified Champion Schools program that the board approved at the last meeting. K-9 integrative therapy is back. It's continuing across the district, and that's a collaboration with Eastchester School Foundation and the Matthew DeMarco Foundation and the high school PTA. Music therapy is in its 12th year. Yoga is beginning at Ann Hutch. That's also with the Eastchester School Foundation. The Diversity and Inclusion Club at Eastchester High School is being supported by Septa. There are many, many individual teacher grants and department requests totaling approximately $5,000 just this year, with over $45,000, actually over $75,000 between SEPTA-funded grants and private-funded grants over the last 5 years. So SEPTA is bringing a lot of grants, really at a grassroots level, so teachers, programs, departments can apply for all sorts of things, from weighted blankets to technology-assistive devices to support for after-school clubs, all kinds of things that SEPTA is funding. SEPTA donated masks to students, thank you gifts to staff and teachers, a staff appreciation event every October, so over 160 staff were able to attend this year. They support Eastchester Band and Orchestra trips to Six Flags, many awards and scholarships, almost $5,000 to Eastchester High School graduates and Eastchester Middle School 8th graders who are moving up to the high school. SEPTA subsidizes the School to Work program, subsidizes monitors for Gen Ed after school clubs to facilitate participation of special ed students. They sponsor Adopt a Senior for students who don't have sponsors. They respond to and support this year over 200 calls, inquiries, emails, and requests for information and support from special ed parents, and they attend numerous IEP and CSE meetings to advocate for families and students. Lots of community fundraisers, including Septa Night at Mickey Spillane's with teachers, staff, and local community hero bartenders. We have a big bingo and brownies coming up this May, which is an exciting event to have back in the community again. It sold out very, very quickly. And they continue to seek funding from outside sources and grants, as I mentioned. Lots of private foundations and a great partnership, actually, with Concordia Conservatory to support the music therapy program. So I'm really happy to support on all the work that SEPTA has done this year. Big shout out to the volunteers and the staff who they work with.
Okay, thank you. I'm disappointed that Bingos and Brownies is sold out because I'm actually trying to get 2 tickets. So if anybody out there has room on their table, I'm looking for 2 tickets to Bingos and Brownies. Anybody else? Not looking for tickets. Anybody else have anything to say? I'm not trying to oversell you guys, you know? Yeah, the Labor Committee met yesterday.
It's a short update because we can't say anything in detail, but the Labor Committee met this week, and there are, I believe, 2 units that are, 3 units, thank you, that are coming up. The contracts are coming up soon, so we had some discussions regarding that.
And one is done. Right.
Well, so
We have to
I guess
remind
before-
that,
Yes. And last meeting, I believe it was the last regular meeting, we approved, you're talking about the, we approved the teacher's contract, the,
Good. 4 years. So we're luck. The contract is 4 years long, starting July 1st, so that's a good thing. So,
Yep.
job well done, everybody, on
Some good
that.
discussions had at the committee meeting, and I look forward to seeing some more contracts getting done soon.
Good. Okay. No other committee reports? Okay, superintendent's report.
Yes, good evening. We just have really 2 things. The centerpiece of the presentation tonight will be talking about the budget. But before that, I think it's important and noteworthy to know that the petitions for those running for school board election here in May were due yesterday at 5 o'clock. And District Clerk Lori Parada is going to report on what the results of that petition collection yielded at 5 o'clock yesterday.
Lori? Borrow Lisa's mic. Unless you don't have, you have one? Just this way they can hear you at home.
So there were 8 candidates that submitted their petitions for the Board of Education. Today, we gathered as a group at 3:30, and we did the ballot selection. We did a lottery for the ballot selection, and this was the outcome. So did you want me to name the candidates first, or just the outcome? Is that fine?
Do the candidates in order, the way they'll appear on the ballot.
So the first one is going to be Lori Giacobbe. The second person would be Cheryl Smith. Third, Stephen Perjansky. Fourth, Michelle Lawler. Fifth, Stanley Thangaraj. Sixth, Cardinal Smith. 7, Matthew Finelli. And 8, Christine Civitano Lombardi.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck to all the candidates.
Yeah, and if I said that it was due today at 5, I meant yesterday, and that we did a lottery today, so days are running together. Want to congratulate everybody and thank everybody who's running, and appreciate everybody's willingness to serve. That's a great sign. So want to talk just a little bit about the budget, and we've been, as you know, over the last several board meetings reporting to you on the superintendent's proposed budget. I'm particularly excited about this budget because I believe because we've been able to get the aid that we've been seeking that we have not been able to have for many years. We've been able to really take some leaps and bounds in terms of putting some infrastructure in place, and we believe that we've done this in a balanced way. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about the components of the budget, although we will cover some of that again tonight. Really what we want to talk about primarily is just recap the financials, because really what you'll be asked to approve tonight is it will become the board's budget, after tonight, when we're really asking you to approve a number. And certainly, as part of that number, like any budget, we put items in there that we think that, that prioritize where the dollars will go, or where they are estimated to go. And so Assistant Superintendent for Business, Lisa Sanfilippo, is going to walk you through a couple things that have updated since the last time we spoke on this, so that you have a very current, up-to-the-minute understanding of revenues and any changes to expenditures in the budget. And then we'll have an opportunity to, see if there's any discussion. You want to talk more about it. And it is later in the business items, it is, for your consideration to adopt this proposed budget. So Lisa will have a number of these slides that she's going to cover, and I'll have some comments as well, and then we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So as Dr. Glass stated, we've been giving presentations for the last 2 or 3 meetings. So this presentation is really just going to kind of highlight what has changed, because since our last meeting, the state did adopt their budget. It was late, but on April 8th, we got the details of what was in the state budget. So in our last presentation, the first column was the governor's proposal, and in the second column is what was actually enacted. So in foundation aid, slight little difference, not a big deal. Our transportation aid was actually reduced slightly. Our building aid was also reduced slightly. Our BOCES aid was increased by about $113,000. And some of the other aids are just slight adjustments. So where we were looking at approximately $12.4 million in aid originally, we are now looking at about $12.49 million in state aid. One thing to note is that building aid does impact the tax cap calculation, so any change to that number did and will impact your tax cap number. So just to show that, the property tax cap calculation, now this is final, slight increase from last time it was 1.77, now it's 1.78. And again, that's a function of building aid. We will be receiving $17,000 less in building aid, so that impacts the cap. So to carry that change forward, the revenue detail is, I highlighted the numbers that have changed since the last presentation. The tax cap, the tax levy number is slightly different than it was before, and our state and federal aid number was 12.4 million, now it's 12.49 million. So that makes the total revenue estimate $96,208,000. So how that translate into expenditures, so the expenditures match that, it's $96,208,000 again. This is just an overview. Within the coming weeks, the district will be putting out the full budget detail booklet that is required for us to put out there for the community, line by line, every line in the budget, every dollar amount explanation for each line will be coming forward in the next few weeks. But just an overview, this breaks it out into administration, is a 4.1% increase, facilities operations security, a 5.1% increase, instruction, a 4.1% increase, transportation, an almost 12% increase. We just opened some bids on transportation. As you can imagine, driver shortages, fuel cost, all factored into that. Employee benefits up 6.4%, debt service down about 1.8%, and transfer to other funds down 11.5%. So again, just to reiterate, nothing here has changed since over the past few presentations. So these are the staffing changes that are proposed for the 22-23 school year. A 0.8 increase in business education at the high school, a 0.4 E&L increase at the high school, a 1.0 math, computer science, robotics teacher at the high school, 3.0 assistant principals at one at each elementary school, 4.0 special education teachers, 2 at Greenvale, 2 at Ann Hutch, 1.0 math AIS to be shared between Greenvale and Ann Hutch, 2.0 grade level monitors at Greenvale, 1.0 maintenance laborer, that's district-wide for grounds, a 1.0 custodial floater, again district-wide, a 1.0 computer aid district-wide, a 1.0 elementary ed tech facilitator, and a 1.0 secondary ed tech facilitator. Because of the increases in the special education teachers at Ann Hutch and Greenvale, there will be a resulting reduction of 4 teaching assistants in those buildings as well. Also, as a reduction, is the 2 remote instruction teachers that were added this year, and that was purely a function of COVID. So those positions are eliminated for next year. Some other items that are contained within this budget are elementary reading and math programs, curriculum mapping, professional development for balanced literacy and math, elementary writing, and RTI. Some summer programs are being proposed, pre-algebra, guidance. We are proposing an increase in our contract security coordinator position. We have added some additional occupational education spots. This also includes one-to-one Chromebooks and licenses for the entire 6th grade, 200+ elementary Chromebooks and carts, and some field maintenance equipment. Capital projects for next year, $2.1 million is included in the transfer to capital line, and those will be allocated for masonry repairs, windows, and lintel replacements at the high school and middle school. And should any funds be left over from that allocation, other projects could be addressed as they have been identified in the 5-year capital plan. So now the budget timeline, we're getting close now. The next big date is May 3rd. That's the latest that the budget document will be available to the public. We have a public budget hearing on May 10th. That's required by law for the community to become informed about what's in the budget document and to ask questions. And then the budget vote and trustee election is Tuesday, May 17th, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Eastchester Middle School Gymnasium. That's it. Any questions?
Hey, thank you for that. My question always was that, well, actually, my initial question was the fact that we did get increased revenues, and that's really good news. The fact that our transportation costs went up since the last version, while not unexpected, was a little disappointing as to how much it ate up those revenues and then some. And basically, the way I see it, our revenue went up 100,000 and our expenses went up 400,000. And, that doesn't, it should concern us that that's $400,000. But I think based on the size of our budget, I know that there's always pluses and minuses into these accounts and stuff like that, that it's not of a concern enough to me to lose that. It's almost beneficial that it only went up 400,000. But it's a little disappointing when you also see transportation aid go down when they passed another mandate that everybody has to buy electric school buses going forward. Now that, we want to start, lobbying in Albany, let's let Albany pay for the electric school buses, not us. But, those are my questions, and I'm comfortable with, I know we made a major investment in our strategic plan this year, and the programs that are interwoven throughout the budget are all going to support that. And I'd love to be sitting here next year and having somebody report to us on how we're doing on that and what we're getting back for our investment, because we are making an investment. And maybe next year is the year that we talk about maybe not taxing to the tax cap and giving some of that back if we can. So that's where I'm coming from. Who else has any comments or yes, no's, maybes, questions? There's still, time to ask questions. Yes? No? I kind of covered it? Okay, great. All righty.
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you very much. Thanks for all your hard work on this, and we look forward to those line items. So, superintendent's report. We're still on the superintendent's report. Anything else?
That concludes it. I would just say that, I was, looking at some advocacy that we had been doing 2 or 3 years ago, and many of the things that we outlined that, we needed to put in place, we're now actually able to put in place. We're able to execute the plan, start to execute the plan now over 2 years, and it's exciting, to be able to see exactly what we said we didn't have and we needed. And that if we had the dollars that were owed to us, which was $56 million at that 2 years ago that was owed to us, we're never going to see that $56 million, but we're starting to see we're at 80% of fund equity now. And because of that, we're starting to be able to execute some of this. And that's what you see reflected in this budget. So we're staying on course, and that's exciting.
Okay, good. Next order of business here is comments from the public on agenda items only. So if anyone in the audience would like to go up and say anything about something on the agenda, please come up and do so. There'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting for non-agenda items. Okay, everybody likes the agenda. Good. All right. Judah, would you like to move the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to move it a little differently than it's written because I think
That's fine.
I think there's sort of an error, so hopefully we can correct that. I'm going to move a resolution that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the following: 7, approval of the minutes; 8, the personnel agenda; items 9.3, because 9.1 and 9.2 are excluded from the consent agenda, the report card and the budget. Is that correct, or are we leaving that in?
Correct. There, it says non-consent agenda
Right,
on
I want to
here.
make sure because if, right, okay, good. So 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, 9.6, and then I believe we also need to approve 10. Are we not doing 10 as part of the consent agenda?
We're going to take that out so that we could talk about that because there might be some abstentions and stuff on that.
I'm sorry, I just added one item. Fresh, it will add another item.
Yeah, well, Lisa, why don't you just cover what you are adding? Because everyone's aware of it. It just got completed like this afternoon.
Right,
So why don't you just mention it?
So the Eastchester Little League and the Eastchester Youth Soccer Association has generously offered to perform some renovations and repairs to some of our fields at Ann Hutch and Waverly. And so this is the agreement that that just kind of outlines everybody's roles and responsibilities. And being that it is springtime is kind of the essence, so we wanted to get it on tonight. So I just added this to the agenda right before the meeting. So if you've already logged in, you would just have to refresh to kind of to see it, because now there's.
Is this different than what we saw?
What?
It's,
23.
Yeah, so now it's
All right, my screen, it
9.3.
didn't come up. Okay.
Okay.
It's 9.3.
Oh, I see. Okay, so 9.3, 9.4, 9.5, 9.6, and 9.7.
Correct.
Okay.
That's it. You
Okay,
got it.
that's fine. And we're not doing the policy adoption as part of this?
no, we have to do the readings on that. That's not consent agenda. Are we approving them or no? We could do them separately.
All right, we'll do it separately.
We'll do them separate.
I'll stop with 9. All right,
Yeah.
that's fine. Then that's my motion.
Okay, Steve, you want to second that?
I will second that.
Okay, anybody want to remove anything? Yes, no? Okay, all in favor on the consent? Good, that's 8-0. Chrissy, you want to move, the budget adoption, 9.1, and the property tax report card, 9.2. You could do those together.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts the proposed 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $96,2008. Be it further resolved, is that what you want me to move it or just keep
You
reading?
can move them both together.
Okay. And also, be it resolved that the Board of Education has reviewed and hereby approves the attached 2022-2023 school property tax report card.
I think that's it. I think that's all you have to do. And then we're going to do the policies later. Okay? So that's, you moved it. Jonah, you want a second? Sure. Okay, any discussion on those two items? No? All in favor? Yes, 8-0 again. Okay, thank you both. And who's the policy committee here? Steve, that you? I'll let you move the policies.
Sure.
Well, the first reading and the.
Yep. So, where are we?
10 dot, the numbering change, that
Yeah,
might be 5.
10.3. Okay, so,
Yeah. Use
yeah,
the
it's
policy
10.3,
number.
10.4, 10.5. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the second reading and adoption of the attached policies, number 1530, smoking, vaping, and other tobacco use on school premises, number 2342, agenda preparation and dissemination, and number 5152, admission of non-resident students. And be it further resolved that the policies will be posted on the district website for public viewing. Do we have to move the first?
No,
readings?
because
There
they're
aren't motions, but
they're first readings, so you got to ask, does anybody have any comments, any issues with those policies, the way they were written? I'm usually the one who does, but I don't have any. We did make that correction on the one policy for away from school trips and events. So that was, and the lawyer supplied that language. So we're okay there now. Anybody on the other one or anything? No? Okay, so those are considered first read. And that's that.
We have to vote on 10.3, though. It's a second reading.
Yes, so then we accept policy, second reading.
Yeah, I moved it.
Okay, that was the motion, okay. Second, Cheryl.
I second.
You got it, okay. Any discussion further? All in favor? That's everybody, good, that's 8.0. Okay. The next thing on the agenda is actually just a discussion item, and I am the one who put it on there.
We doing the BOCES thing?
Oh, yeah, where is that? I'm sorry, thank you.
10-1 and 2.
10 what?
10-1 and 2.
All right, let's do that first then. Approval of the administrative budget for Southwest BOCES, Southern Westchester BOCES, sorry. So would someone want to move that? Christy, we're up to you at this point. You want to?
So it's 10.1, right? Be it resolved.
Want to move them both?
What?
Move both, 10-1 and 2.
Yeah, you can move them both, yeah.
10.2, okay.
Okay.
So be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the 2022-2023 estimated administrative budget for the, for the Southern Westchester Board of Cooperative Education Services in the amount of $12,517,761. And then the other one is, let's see, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves that one vote to be cast for one, two, or all three of the candidates, Joan Weber, Bob Johnson, Lynn McBride, to serve as trustees on the Southern Westchester Board of Cooperative Educational Services for the time period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025.
Okay,
questions
Jackie, you
there?
want to second that? Okay. Any discussion on these?
We need to determine if we're putting all three or not.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. That's my
That's
point.
the discussion,
Yeah.
right?
Well, let's talk about, let's vote on the first one first, the administrative budget. I'm just going to say right up front, I always abstain on this because I don't think I should approve something that I really have no input or knowledge of. But that's me personally. I'm not trying to influence anyone else because I think the board probably should pass it. But I like abstaining on it, so I'm going to abstain. So, all in favor? Yes? Okay. 701, okay? And now we got the board members. So if we look at the 4 board members, 4?
3.
3, I'm sorry, I'm trying to open the document, so.
Yeah, three members for 5 seats, so it's,
Okay.
unless someone
So
objects to people.
does anybody want to not vote for any of these people, any or all of them? Again, I don't know these people. Last year I voted on it because I knew the person running and I supported that person, but these people I don't know, so I'm going to abstain again. But if anybody wants to, any reason not to vote for them?
You do have their, and you did receive their bios. So at least
we
you know-
have-
Yeah, we have their resumes, but
Yeah.
that's.
I almost look at it as unless we have a specific objection, I mean.
Yeah, unless you have an
volunteering to
objection.
Do what we do at the Southwestern BOCES level, and so.
You were on that, weren't you?
I was on.
You weren't a trustee. You were a rep.
Westchester Putnam School Boards Association Board,
Yeah.
but that was different, yeah.
So, okay, all in favor? All? Okay. 701 again. Good. Yes.
Go back to that MOA agreement. I just want to say thank you to Eastchester Little League and Eastchester Youth Soccer Association. We formed a fields committee at the beginning of this year, and they already fixed the Ann Hutch lower field. This MOA agreement tonight that we approved is to fix the Waverly field and the upper Ann Hutch fields. They're going to be putting in baseball carve-outs, and they're going to be paying for maintenance of the fields for this year. Those two organizations are spending thousands of dollars to help us fix those fields, which will have such a positive effect on our students and for sports. So I just really want to point that out. The girls' modified softball plays there, and it's going to be huge improvements at those fields. So just a big thank you to Little League and soccer for all their time and effort and money on those projects. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you for saying that because I feel the same way, having been a member of both those leagues for many, many years. They do great work. It's great for the kids to get involved in that stuff, and it's great that they could raise the money to do that stuff, and it's a true partnership with the school district, and that's great. So, terrific stuff. Okay, what are we up to now?
Now, your item 10.6.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm glad you're paying attention. And you're not sitting in front of us. Okay, I brought up this issue on the fields, and I just want to bring it up because I think it's really important. We spent a lot of money on the high school track, the field, the turf field, the facilities in general around here. And we do that because we want the best for our kids, we want the best for our students, we want the best for our community, and we want our taxpayers to be able to use those facilities when we're not doing it. But I received 2 letters this week from concerned residents and people basically that were walking the track. And I'm saying this to everybody here, the board, okay? But I'm also saying it to the community. We have a group of people, and I'm going to say it's kids, okay? Because not adults, that are abusing our facilities, okay? They're riding around on scooters. They're disrespecting the property. And when people go up to them and ask them, to take the scooters outside, they're back-talking to them. They're just treating them rudely. To the point where these 2 people actually called the police on the kids. The police came and the kids were rude to the police. And I got to be honest, I'm embarrassed for the entire community on that. And I'm not looking to blame any parents or anything like that. But what I'm trying to say is we have to get our arms around this, because if we don't stop this now, it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. We try to teach kindness and respect and all those good qualities in our students, and then after school, they're abusing our property, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I want to find out what we can do about it. I want to know, what are our legal, what can we do legally? Can we call the police? Can we take scooters away from kids? Could we take skateboards away from kids that are basically abusing our property and make the parents have to go to the police station to pick it up? I don't know what we can do, but we need an answer, okay? You put your hand up first. Go ahead.
Thanks. We talk, this issue comes up pretty much every spring for since the turf field was put in, and certainly for as long as I've been on the board. So I have some thoughts. I read the messages that you got and your ideas in your email about what we might do. I think that, first of all, we're a public school system. People want to use the beautiful facility. They're frustrated when they can't access it after certain hours. And I think the community should be able to use it. Like, this is the ideal that we're moving toward, because most community members use the facility in respectful and responsible ways, and they're out there getting healthy. So I think and playing and having a good time. And I think they should be able to do that. So I wonder if it would make sense in this instance to create sort of a subcommittee or a task force with maybe some board members, the facilities committee, I don't know, all the board members, the principals from the high school and middle school, because you talked about what can we do in terms of discipline and getting the school officials involved. Alteris, our security, a representative from Eastchester Police, some community members, maybe someone from our facilities director, for instance, right? We could create this community. We can be proactive with the community to come up with these solutions. All the people who would be involved sort of in the kind of enforcement that you're talking about. We clearly need some kind of enforcement, but I would really like, the end goal to be greater access to the track for community members, and of course protecting the huge investment and protecting that space for the student athletes who use it as well. And it was a community project. The sports club did an enormous fundraising for over the course of, it felt like multiple years, maybe it wasn't, for the bleachers. The district worked with Sports Club on supporting those projects. So it's a district investment, it's a community investment. I think we all have, we all really care about it. So I would recommend that. I think that's something we could get going this spring. We could do it right away. And I think that kind of task force or committee could come up with recommendations, right? And we could start building in ways to support those, to see what resources we need to make this happen once and for all, right? Because otherwise we're going around the same, not to use a, oval metaphor, but the same going around and around.
You're absolutely right, and I think we could also get the town involved too, because they have fields, and they I know they lock them up and they're by permit use only. Ours are more open, but we could use their input as well and come up with something, because we have to do something. If we don't do something, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
And it happens in the spring, and it's no accident that, you got the emails during the time when students were off. Students were home and they're out with their friends. And so it's natural, and yet, we have a right to protect that property, and we have an obligation to our community to protect it and to make it accessible and available and not be shutting it down because we're trying to protect the integrity of it.
And I'll go to you next.
No,
But
sorry.
the last thing also is, anybody who drives around this town or walks around this town, I'm not against kids on scooters, but it drives me nuts that I haven't seen one wearing a helmet, okay? And when one kid falls off a scooter and hits his head and dies, it's going to be too late, So something's got to be done, and that's not us. That's on the streets and through the village and the towns.
But
something's got to be done.
You're reminding me that we did pull some kids off the roof of the building last spring as well, so they are.
And the police were called and kids after
And
a
that's-
Board of Ed meeting in the wintertime. It's not only a springtime problem.
What do we
Christie.
have in terms of like vandalism policies, like vandalizing school grounds, graffiti, like just be like, do we have anything like that?
That's a good question. I don't know
Because
that.
Would they be part of
Let's say it's called policy
I don't know,
committee.
like a behavior code,
Right,
code
is
of
it under
conduct?
code of conduct? Is it, so we know.
I'm sure it's in the code of conduct. Yeah.
It's most definitely in all of our.
So how do we go about enforcing, like, if a child is on school, right?
You have to
how
know
about
who it is.
How about a requirement? If you don't, a requirement is you have to, every student has an ID card, right? You're on school grounds, you better have your ID card. You don't have your ID card, you're off school grounds. And now that takes, somebody, correct. It takes enforcement, it takes security. And then, if they're doing something, and at least we're going to start documenting it. That's it.
Years ago, I said that people who want to use the track should have to apply in the district office and for $1, get a tag that they could wear with their name as they're walking around the track, and just so that they're wearing the tag,
they're
they're
community member,
authorized to be there.
right.
And they're residents,
Right, Coach, they should have.
Because some other school districts only allow residents to use them. Bronxville, I don't think you could, or I could walk down on their track. It used to be that way. I don't know how it is now. So
That's only half the battle, right? Because,
No, it's not the
kids
adults.
who are
That's not the
abusing the privilege now will not get the tag, and they'll continue to abuse the privilege.
But-
I think we have to look at a way for reporting to
I just
Scott's
wanted to
point.
put this on the radar, and we have to act. We got to do something, And I think forming some kind of a exploratory committee is a good idea.
Right, like
Figure out what to do.
Get input from a lot of people, so the principals can say, well, this is what we could do, and then, because it's going to take resources, and so then I think if we have a committee recommendation, then we could talk about that. Well, what are the resources that we have, and that as a district and a board, we're willing to put toward this? Because that's why I think a committee with a lot of different kinds of insights, well, here's what's feasible, here's what it would cost, here's what we could do, here's how we could identify, who's doing it, yeah.
And I'm sure the baseball and the soccer leagues would be interested too, because, I've personally witnessed, after a rainstorm, a kid with a mountain bike riding around on a high school infield, baseball infield. Now, lots of money was invested on that infield and clay and dirt and grading and all of that stuff. And to have a kid leave mud tracks because it's wet is, it's not fair. It's not right. And we got to do something. So, any other comments? We're just going to...
Well, I was just going to say that when we talk about this, usually you bring up the cameras. I refer to them as Vito's cameras.
The cameras were in my note to the administration on this one, okay? We still need cameras that could identify people by face. So if you see damage being made, you could identify we don't have to have someone looking at the camera all day and monitoring it, but if something gets ripped, torn, broken, you go back and look at the last couple of hours and see who did it, and people have to be held accountable.
We don't have any kind of cameras around?
No,
I
our
thought we had
cameras are
some, right? But
old,
they're like, no.
and we were promised high def, you could see at night cameras, and we never got them.
Who promised?
But again, it goes back.
It was
when-
promised in the capital
when we did
program.
we did the original bond years ago. But again, in today's world, nobody doesn't have a camera with them at all times, right? So if we had a way for people to report it, I see people on Facebook sometimes saying, oh, this happened, and they're posting pictures from their Ring camera or whatever. I don't think we should be posting pictures of kids on Facebook. But if there were an email address that came to someone at the school with authority
Like
that
a
could
site,
say,
have a site
hey,
where-
I took a picture of these kids that were, trampling on the field with their scooters or whatever. Maybe we should do something about it. It can be handled in a way that's appropriate and reasonable by, school administration without.
Well, then you get the parents involved, and now they're
Right,
aware of it, and then there's a discipline action that
It's gotta
takes
be a
place.
community effort,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
To be worked
I mean-
through, as opposed to, and again, that doesn't require any additional investment in cameras. That can be done starting today. All we need is a resource or an avenue for people to report it.
If
I don't want to see people posting pictures on
we
Facebook.
change the habits and we change what's going on, maybe we can open the track later.
Right.
It's not our goal to keep it closed. Our goal is to protect the investment. And if we could do both and keep it open or open it more hours, that's a great thing.
Have the schools or the district in any capacity sent any communications to parents just to say, hey, this is what's happening, can you please
That's a
talk to
good
your
quote.
children?
Maybe we should.
Yeah,
I think so.
Spring.
it just might be something, immediate action we could take. I mean, we're not going to accuse anyone that this is your child, obviously, but, hey, it's someone's child, right? So, hey, talk to your kids and just remind them to be respectful of the property.
Go ahead.
That's a routine part of, when we have issues, that's what we do. This latest one, we haven't done it because, frankly, I hadn't had many reports until, what was just happening over break. So,
And it's only a few days ago I got this. It's not like this has been going on for weeks and weeks.
That's something
Maybe it
we-
has, but,
it's a tool in the box that we can use, yeah.
All right, I'm glad we had that discussion. So,
Yeah, and I'll just let you know, we're happy to put that task force together. That's great. If
Okay.
that's the direction the board would like to go, and I would like
I think
I'd like some board members
everybody's okay?
to be part of
Yeah?
that.
Everybody's cool with this?
Have to do something.
Okay. All right, good. I don't think I missed anything else now. So we're going to go to comments from the public at this point.
Meeting dates and then.
You want to do the meeting dates first? Okay, future meeting dates are May 10th. Don't we have one before then? No, okay.
No, the budget document
Right.
goes out to the public on May 3rd.
Okay, May 10th, May 17th, which is the election, and June 7th. So, all right, comments from the public at this point. So if anybody would like to come up, say a few words. Make sure you sign your name before you leave.
We're currently drawing straws as to who's going to read.
You got to speak into the mic. I couldn't hear you.
We're drawing straws, yeah. Sure.
Good evening. We are the Executive Board of Eastchester Septa, a parent-teacher organization committed to advocating for and enriching the educational experiences of students with learning differences in the Eastchester schools. First, we would like to thank Dr. Cheryl Smith, the trustee who is our liaison, for her report this evening that highlights some of the contributions that SEPTA makes to our students, teachers, and schools. We are very proud to help enrich the lives of all Eastchester students, and we are truly grateful for the support and partnership that we receive from our school community. The teachers and staff, administration, including Dr. Noreen Urso and other PTA units, the other school-based and town-based organizations such as Sports Club, School Foundation, Challenger League, and Little League. Many of our Eastchester board members are longstanding members of the Eastchester school community, with many of our Eastchester board members having volunteered on behalf of Eastchester students for more than a decade. We are committed to this community and all of its students, including students with learning differences. We know how important special education programming is to our community. And every year, the wonderful Eastchester community turns out to support inclusive educational opportunities for all Eastchester students. Our job as the Board of SEPTA is to honor those committee values.
On April 11th, we sent a letter to trustee Jonah Rizzo-Blakeman regarding divisive and discriminatory remarks that he made about students with learning differences and their families. Those remarks, which were quite painful for our members to hear, were made at a public meeting of the board. In our letter, we asked trustee Rizzo-Blakeman to apologize this evening at a public meeting of the board to students and families for his remarks. We also invited him to meet with our executive board to get to know our many families and to have a dialogue with us in an effort to build a trusting working relationship. As of this evening, we have not received a response. Septa has a long history of working collaboratively with the board and school administration. We are grateful to all of the board trustees over the years who have worked with Septa, including our current board liaison, Cheryl Smith. We value the long tradition of constructive dialogue between Septa and the board. We have always worked through issues of concern together. It is in this long tradition that we wish to extend to each of you an invitation to meet with our executive board. We have work to do together, and we hope that each of you will strongly consider meeting with our executive board, and we look forward to hearing from each of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else want to comment? Yes, no? Going once, going twice? Okay, I guess we're done with comments from the public. Okay. Yes? I'm sorry, Jonah. Wait until your mic kicks in. Don't. Yes. You got to. There you go. There you go.
So I did issue an apology for one of the comments that I made that evening, which I think, wasn't intended to be directed at any families, but it certainly could have and was interpreted that way. So the comment about attracting the kind of snowball effect of attracting families. Again, not trying to blame anybody with that comment, but I have apologized for that comment, and I'll apologize again tonight for that particular comment. The rest of the comments that I made, though, I think they're important issues to talk about, and in this context, we kind of talk in a colloquial manner, and we hash out subjects. And, I hope that this whole experience with that comment and the reaction won't kind of prevent people from continuing to talk about the allocation of resources, because I do think it's a legitimate topic. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks. Any other? All right, comments from the public are closed. Any board comments before we finish up here tonight? Okay, we are going, need a motion for an exec session for 5 minutes on a personnel issue.
I'll move it.
Okay, Steve? Okay, all in favor? Okay, good. Thank you, everybody, and good evening.
Did I? No.